So the Giants, Matt, they go 7-9 last season. Started out pretty rough. 0-6. Eli Manning was not the Eli Manning, the two-time Super Bowl winner. This team, do we chalk it up to one bad year, or does this team have real serious needs that need to be addressed and starting tonight?
I think it's a combination of both. I think they started off really rough, as you point out, 0-6, and they rebounded to finish the season 7-3, but obviously not enough. They had a lot of issues from the standpoint of Manning was a turnover machine. Part of that was a lot of drop balls by the receivers, tipped balls that led to interceptions. Another part of that was their offensive line was miserable. They were injured. They couldn't block even when they got healthier. So that lends itself to needs along the offensive line. They picked up Jeff Schwartz from Kansas City. It was a really nice signing. Schwartz did a really, really nice job for the Chiefs. He was only expected to be a fill-in backup guard/tackle for Kansas City. He ended up starting a litany of games and starting their playoff game. So he'll help out there. They still have some needs. A tight end is a need. Offensive tackle could still be a need. Justin Pugh was drafted last year in the first round, but he could use a bookend. So there are some needs there. Beal retired in the offseason. So the Giants, I think, are better than that record showed, but there are still some holes on the team.
So the Giants, they started off 0-6 last year. As you said, they rebound to go 7-3. But did that almost do them a disservice to have that strong second half? They're picking at 12 right now, picking at 12 in the draft tonight. Again, like we talked about with the Bills on Tuesday, they can get a very good player there, but they were in a position early to be top 5, certainly top 10. Who can they get at 12 that's going to be an impact player right away?
Well, I think a lot of it actually depends on what the Bills do. The Bills are in a position where they could take offensive tackle. They could maybe take a tight end to pair with the Scott Chandler. If the Bills go tackle at 9, I think that'll probably be the third of the 3 top tackles with Lewan, Matthews, and Robinson. But that also might open the door for Eric Ebron, because if he gets past 9, he's probably not going to the Lions, probably not going to the Titans, although that is a little bit of a possibility there. But they do have a Delaney Walker who they invested some money in. So Ebron could be a really nice find for the Giants, and he could be the first real legitimate tight end they've had on that team since Jeremy Shockey. And if the Bills go tight end, which they could, then maybe a Lewan or a Jake Matthews falls down to Big Blue, and they get a good player. So I really actually think the Bills are the key for the Giants.
The Giants, the running game was certainly a problem for them last season between David Wilson's fumbles, Andre Brown's injuries. They bring in a Rashad Jennings this year, who is a dual threat guy. He's kind of like a Darren Sproles and a Shady McCoy, certainly not in their level, but he can catch out of the backfield and he can run it between the tackles and bounce out laterally. How big a move is that for the Giants, and does it really, really improve their run game?
Brady, I think you bring up a good point. It's a really nice move. He kind of toiled in anonymity on Oakland because they just have not been good for a long time. But I was personally surprised that the Raiders let him go and signed Darren McFadden. As far as name recognition goes, sure, McFadden is the obvious keep, but he's always hurt. He's just constantly injured, and then they bring in a Maurice Jones-Drew out there, which that's great. Maybe 5 years ago, Jones-Drew is another guy who's starting to break down and is an older player. So Jennings really, I thought, was the future for Oakland at that position, but Reggie McKenzie did not see it that way. He becomes available. I think the Giants really upgrade with Jennings. As you said, he can catch the ball, and he doesn't have the fumbling problems Wilson has. And Hillis was there last year. He's a much better back than Hillis. So I think Jennings really gives them a shot in the arm. It kind of fits with the Giants' history is, of an old-school, tough, between-the-tackles runner who can really lower the shoulder and pick up a tough yard.
Seems to be a theme of the New York teams we've talked about all week is receiver. The Giants, to me, they need to address that. They bring back Mario Manningham. They lose Hakeem Nicks. Who's out there for them, and just how pressing of a need do you see it for the Giants?
I don't see it as pressing maybe as you. I think it's a need, but I think it's more even of a want than need. I think Cruz is a really legitimate star receiver. I think he's best out of the slot. Manningham, I don't put much stock into because as talented as he is, and he showed in the Super Bowl and other times, but he's always injured. I think Ruben Randall's a nice number 2, number 3 option. I think he's an NFL receiver. I don't think he's somebody you have to necessarily game plan for. But I don't think I would be very surprised if they took one in the first round. I could see maybe second, third round. One guy to watch, Kelvin Benjamin. If he falls to the second round, and a lot of people think he might, he's somebody the Giants might really be interested in. Built in the same mold as a Burris. I mean, a wider body than Burris, but big, physical, the type of guy Manning could throw the ball up to and let him go get it. And that's something that Manning, when he's had a receiver like that, he's been very successful. So if Benjamin's available and the Giants pick in the second round, he could be somebody to watch.
So all in all, where do you see the Giants sitting in that NFC East at the end of the year? Now that the NFC West is now kind of widely regarded as the best division in football, but the NFC East it's pretty tight knit in and of itself. You know, that's kind of a murderer's row as well. You got Philadelphia, who wins the division last year, and they're certainly on the uptick yet again now. They bring in a Darren Sproles. Washington was bad last year, but RG3 was hurt. They bring in Deshaun Jackson. They certainly figured to be better, much closer to where they were 2 years ago than last year. You've got Dallas, who, for all the cracks about them, they've got legitimate playmakers. They've got a legitimate quarterback. They're going to at least make noise and at least cause trouble for people in their division, if nothing else. Where do you see the Giants trying to rebound off this season finishing?
I think the Giants are the best team in that division.
Really?
I think I do, and the reason being, I think Washington, a lot of turnover in D.C. You know, I like Griffin. I still think Griffin's going to be a very good player. I think he just had a sophomore slump, and he had some issues around him. And I think maybe also got a little bit caught up in his own hype. But I think he'll be fine. Jay Gruden's got to prove it. You know, I mean, obviously his brother has a great pedigree, but you know what? Dave Shula, didn't exactly pan out like Don. So we got to see how that plays out. A lot of turnover in Washington. I don't expect them to get off to a very fast start. I'm not on the Dallas train at all. I would not be surprised if Dallas finishes dead last in that division. I am not a Jason Garrett fan. In fact, I can't believe he still has a job there. I think Tony Romo gets raked over the coals too often.
Yes, you and me both.
Yeah, I don't think he's an elite quarterback. And I just look at that team defensively and say, where are they going to stop anybody? They couldn't stop anybody last year. They lose to Marcus Ware. They lose Ratliff. I just look at that team and say they might be the worst defense in the league. I don't see, even if they draft the defense at every single position, these kids are all still going to be rookies even if they turn out to be good. So I don't see much out of them. The Giants' main competition, in my eyes, is Philadelphia. And while Philadelphia can score, I think the loss to Deshaun Jackson is a big loss. And I think, locker room wise, maybe it helps out a little bit. I'm not going to speculate on that because I don't know the situation down there. To be truthful or untruthful, whatever the case may be. But Philadelphia's got a team defensively. You look at them and you say, are they there? Are they good enough? I mean, they won 10 games last year, but they won it with Nick Foles throwing 27 touchdowns and 2 picks. That is not a ratio that's happening again. So you've got to expect a little regression to the mean there. And with the Giants, Coughlin is the best coach in that division. Chip Kelly may get the headlines, but Coughlin's won twice. Manning is the most accomplished quarterback in that division. He's won 2 Super Bowls. I think that they had a really good offseason. I really like a lot of their pickups. And I expect the Giants to bounce back this year. I don't expect them to be dominant. I don't expect them to go to the Super Bowl. But I expect the Giants to win 10 to 11 games.
All right, you heard it here first, everyone. Matt Verderame calling the Giants to win the NFC East, overtake the Eagles. And, hey, we up here in Albany, we hope you're right. So Matt Verderame, Pro Football Writers of America, SB Nation, thanks for being with us all week long. Matt, we appreciate the insight, the content. Hey, and finally, sit back, relax, and enjoy the draft's first round tonight.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.